Welcome once again. My name is Raya Fratkina. I'm one of the team leads at Elastic working on our applications team, which is responsible for various things on Kibana from discover to dashboards, visualize, and all that stuff. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about data visualization in Kibana. Just as a level set, I think it is a fairly beginner level webinar. I'm not going to go into any deep complicated use of Kibana tools. I'm mostly going to talk at a high level. And to add a little bit of excitement, I'm going to be using our brand new, just released version 7.7 that is out as of today. So, yay! So let's get going. I wanted to start by talking a little bit about the theoretical concepts of the types of data visualizations that are out there and how we think about them in Elastic tools, specifically in Kibana. Traditionally, if you look up literature on the subject, they will distinguish two types of data visualizations: exploratory versus explanatory. Fairly self-explanatory names. To me, when I think about it, I actually think of three types. Exploratory, the thing that you do when you're trying to figure out what your data set is all about, when you don't know very much about the data. Explanatory, which you use to explain a concept or communicate your finding to people. And then operational. And operational type of data visualization is, if you're at all familiar with Elastic, you probably know is something we do a lot. What distinguishes operational type is that you want to be able to see status of systems, you be able to identify anomalies or understand patterns, basically the things that are going to prevent you from having to get up at night or log on to work on the weekends. So to dig a little bit more into these types, exploratory data visualization, your goal here is to understand your data. You want to discover basic characteristics of your data set in preparation for using it. And there are many different situations where you're picking up a data set that you may not know that you need to understand first. There are some things you want to learn about your data set. You want to understand what dimensions, what fields are available in it. You want to understand what kind of data is in each one, what is the distribution, what are the extreme values on either end. You want to know a little bit about data quality. Is it really sparse? Is it well populated? Is it consistent? Are the numbers in the same format? Are the dates consistent? And when you think about what you need to do when you're exploring your data, there is actually a lot of tools that you can use in Elastic Stack for this. One of the really fundamental things that allows you to do exploration like this is the flexible schema of Elasticsearch. You can load a document. You don't need to define your data tables ahead of time. You have fast and efficient search, and you can also do grouping and filtering real time. But then we also, on the Kibana side, have tools for data discovery and for flexible data visualization. If you think about the next types of explanatory data visualization, your goal is to explain, hence the name, your theory or your thesis to others using your data. So it's important to be able to present your findings in a polished way, to include explanatory text or annotations. But it's also really helpful to tie your presentation to live data to enable drill downs. I don't know how many of you create business reports, but in my prior job, we generated reports in Tableau, and we spend hours, if not days, generating drill down reports because, of course, each one was different. So something like that is one of the really exciting things you can do with Elastic when you tie your report generation to your data. So in addition to data visualization tools and dashboard tools to combine multiple visualizations and annotations, we have various controls, input controls and drill downs, ability to show your data on the big screen and play it in a slideshow. Maybe some of you have heard of Canvas. I'll show a little bit of that later today. You can show data in a kiosk mode where you can allow users limited interactions. And that's really powerful for explaining your data to others. And then finally, for operational data visualization, your goal here is to understand and monitor a system. You need to make sure that your data is as near real time as possible. You're going to be looking at it all the time and you want it to update. You want to be able to compare whatever is happening in the system with reference, thresholds, metrics, data from previous time periods. You want to be able to detect anomalies and trigger alerts and receive reports based on the data. We have a lot of tools related to operational data visualization, including our solutions that will have a custom view specific for a vertical. So as a high-level reminder, Elasticsearch is at the center of Elastic Stack. Kibana is a data visualization as well as a stack management tool on top of Elasticsearch. And then we have Beats and Logstash that allow you to ingest various types of data quickly and efficiently. And then we have vertical solutions that are built on top of the stack for a specific use case. And as you can see, observability and security especially heavily play in the operational use case. So what we're going to do today is spend actually a lot of time just playing with data. I wanted to take a small data set that's fun to explore and go through the whole process end to end of taking this data, putting it into Elasticsearch, discovering what's in it, and then creating some visualizations and presentations based on that. So I picked this data set that is some researchers crowdsourced in New York, trying to keep track of squirrel behaviors. I mean, who doesn't love squirrels, especially this time of year? And hopefully it explains my background today. So without further ado, I'm going to switch to Kibana. I am hoping that it is visible. If it is not, please let me know. Maybe I will zoom in a little bit. Oops, that is perhaps a little bit too much. Okay, so on the homepage of Kibana, you can see some of the support for the solutions and also some generic tools. If you have not tried Kibana out yet, I very much encourage you to start a cloud instance or download the distributable. You can play with sample data sets that create some dashboards for you to experiment with. But what we are going to do is actually upload our data in here using our handy CSV import functionality. Okay, so here's our data set. This is not a huge data set, but even though the tool automatically analyzes first 1,000 lines to make sure that if you have a larger data, you're not waiting for a long time. And immediately you get a little bit of a preview of what's in your data set. So let's kind of scroll down and take a look. Okay, so we have longitude to latitude fields. Obviously, there is some kind of unique squirrel ID. Looks like the area is divided up onto hectares. And then there are a bunch of Boolean values shift. So it looks like there are some spotters working in the morning and some working in the afternoon. There is a date field. Now, the interesting thing is it looks like the date format here is day, months, day, year. So we probably should check and make sure that the date is getting parsed correctly. There are hectare squirrel number, which I guess is a number of squirrels per hectare, but we'll find out. There is age of squirrels. Okay, that's useful. There is a color, gray, cinnamon, and black, and then there are some highlights of the code and notes and other interesting things. There is a location of the squirrel, and then a bunch of looks like Boolean fields that describe the squirrel behavior. Okay, so let's go back here. The first thing I want to double check is make sure that our date is working correctly. So you can specify the format for your timestamp field. I'm going to pick custom here and specify that we're going with months, day, year. And then I'm going to pick date. I'm going to go up to 10,000 lines this time, so I can see how much more data I have. Oh, look, there are 3,000 lines. Okay, beautiful. So I'm going to start my import. And one more thing I'm going to do, in the advanced tab of this data import tool, it shows you what mappings is going to create and how this data is going to end up being ingested into Elasticsearch. And down here, I can double check that our date is correctly processed as date. And that our location, okay, so there is this latitude and longitude field that combine geographic coordinates. Right now it's getting parsed as keywords, but we actually have a geopoint type, and I'm going to switch to use that here. Okay, so now that I did those things, I'm going to import my data. As you can see, it does not take long, and we're done. So it shows that the rows were imported. It gives me some information. I can see the indexes that were created as well as file bit configuration if I want to copy that and use it to import a larger data set of a similar format. But I'm going to just go and open this data in Discover so I can play with it. Discover is one of the most basic tools in Kibana that you can use to explore your data. Its primary orientation is towards the time series data. And so you see that right away at the top, you get a timeline view of the documents. It's clever enough to recognize the time range it's dealing with. So this study took happened in 2018 in October, so really we only have documents from October 6th to the 20th, and you can see the distribution here. It picked some kind of time interval that made sense, but here clearly there is no time, so I can just switch to a daily interval to help me kind of understand this. Looks like, you know, most days somebody was looking, but not every day. Then down below, we get the documents. So in the CSV file, each row was imported as a separate document containing all of the data in it. I can expand a row and take a look at what's there. So on October 20th, they identified this adult squirrel that was not approaching the researchers, so was chasing something, was not climbing, and there was a bunch of other information about it. So you can see you can quickly start getting an idea of what your data looks like and what's in there. You can switch to a JSON format if you want to double check the fields, but typically a table view is nice. One really nice feature that's often useful is to view surrounding documents. It shows you the documents that are indexed with timestamp closest to the one you selected. Very often for more strongly timed data, this is a very useful thing to do to understand kind of what happened together. But let us go back. You notice on the left, there is a list of available fields. So for data exploration, this is really useful because now I can look at this field. So when I click on a field, I immediately get a distribution of values. So right away, I know that roughly 81% of the squirrels I spotted were adult, 16% were juveniles, and then there were some that I guess researchers were not able to determine the age. As I am looking at a data that's has a lot of different dimensions, it's difficult to understand what's happening in this data table. What I can do is, instead of looking at a long list of documents, I can switch to a table view, and it's really simple. I can just start adding fields. So now we have timestamp and age. Let's see what else. I am specifically interested in squirrel color. I grew up in Russia, where squirrels were different colors, so the colors of squirrels were fascinating to me when I first came. So let's see. So there is a primary color, and then there is there are some color nodes, and then there is a highlight color. Okay, that's interesting. So there is a location field. Let's see what is in that. And then there are some notes about other activities and interactions. Okay, so we're starting to get a little bit of an idea of what our data here looks like, and a little bit of the character that we can kind of quickly see. So it looked like there is something about cinnamon color squirrels. Let me search for that and see what I can find out. So when I do that, you will see that immediately I get highlights. So I am getting all squirrels that have any cinnamon color in them, whether it's in their primary color, in notes, or in the highlights. And I can start looking at this data and exploring. So this particular one makes small jumps. That one is sitting very still. The other one is running from them, and there are kids kicking the fence. Oh, interesting. I wonder how many squirrels are affected by kids' activity. Oh, look, it turned out not that many in the census. Well, I don't know if it's not enough children walking or they don't care about squirrels. How about dogs? I bet dogs have more impact on squirrels. Yeah, sure, here we go. There are squirrels that are running away from dogs and frozen petrified, which I guess is very reasonable for a squirrel. You notice that when I click here, I also get other suggestions for the fields I could use to filter. So before I was using basic search, but I can also filter the results based on different query parameters. So here I can see which squirrels were chasing. And there we go. There is a bunch of them. So what I'm trying to show here is that with very basic combinations of putting data in a table format and using text queries and filters, you can get a lot of information about the characteristics of your data set, and all of it is really fast and efficient here. So, well, that's all fun and interesting. Let's see how else can you explore this data. You probably noticed that when I clicked on the age field, there was a button down below that said visualize. Let's actually do that and jump over to see what happens. So you notice that I got a visualization created based on my data. It's still using the filter I set, which is chasing equal true. And here is my distribution of squirrel colors. Let's say that what I actually want is I want to see if there is any interesting information about whether the chasing behavior differs by color. So I can use a normal data visualization tools here in Kibana to split our series based on the terms of the chasing field. So I'm starting to combine kind of data discovery with a little bit of data visualization to help me understand the data set better. If this is something that I'm interested in, I can save the visualization and name it. So I can later come back to it and see what's happening here. Let me move on and show you some other tools. So, so far we kind of explored the documents with search and filters. We created a little visualization. There are other things you can do. One of the new tools that we released as a beta recently is called Lens. And one of the really interesting things in Lens is the ability to use it to explore the data set. Okay, so let's look at the squirrel census. You'll notice that in Lens, very similar to Discover, you get the list of fields, and you can also click on each field and understand the top values and the distribution. One of the interesting things in Lens is instead of looking at the data table, it's more geared towards helping you create visualizations to explore your data. So I can drag and drop. I can take the age field and drag it onto the main panel and immediately see a visualization of the distribution by age. I also get some suggestions. So I can look at a timeline of sightings. I can change to a different orientation of the graph. I can also, let's see, so we looked at age. Let's add my favorite fur color to this. Again, I will drag and drop this field in the main panel. And Lens suggests the best type of visualization to help you understand this data. In this particular case, it split the series by the colors, so you can see different combinations of color and age in the chart. And again, just like before, you can save and reuse it. But before we do that, actually, one thing I want to show you is there is a range of different types you can have, including a data table. So I can switch to this and once again see the data that I'm looking at in a table view to help me kind of understand what it is. As I am creating these visualizations, I may want to, at this point, I am kind of starting to transition from exploring my data to maybe creating some information panels about my data set that I can share with others. So what I can do is switch to dashboard. I will create a new dashboard. What dashboards allow you to do is create multiple visualizations, put them together, and kind of give that combined overview of the data here. I can create a new visualization. I can use any of the types we already looked at. So let me pick something that we have maybe not done yet. I will pick a metric visualization. So here is my total number of squirrels. I can also split it by age. Oops, sorry. Terms and select age, and I see how many adults, juvenile, and other squirrels I have in my data set. You can get much more complicated than that, but for now I'm just going to save this. And return to the dashboard. And as you see immediately, my visualization appeared on the dashboard. I can resize it to fit better. I can customize this panel in this particular case. I will hide the title because it is not really helpful here. So here we go. I have my first visualization on the dashboard. Let's add a couple more. So we, oops, sorry, that's not what I meant to do. So we created a lens visualization. Let's add that. And we created another one that was about color and chasing behavior. I will add that one as well. And so once again, I can rearrange my visualizations on the dashboard to kind of work with the way I want to present this data. So kind of putting this together into a, what do I know about squirrels in my data set at this point, kind of presentation, and what can I share about it. So hopefully you're starting to get the idea of what is in this data as well as what our capabilities are around this. So let's do some other interesting things here. So let's add another visualization. And in this case, I will create a new one, and I'm actually going to go to our Maps app. Don't know if you caught this or not, but one of the fields in this data set was geopoint, which means that we can plot it on a map. So let's expand our date range a bit so we can start picking up some data here. Okay, and then I will add a layer. When you open the Maps app, you can get one of our base layers that just show world geography. These are served from the Maps server that we have, and you can add additional layers if you want to include more fine-grained boundaries or other things that you may want. But for now, I'm just going to do something really simple and plot the documents that we have in our data set. Okay, so here's our squirrel census. You notice that a dot appeared right away in our map, so I know where this data is located. No surprise, it's around New York. So I'm going to add this layer, and I'm also going to zoom in so we can start seeing a little bit better what is happening here. Okay, so the first observation is clearly they were just observing squirrels in the Central Park because all of our data is clustered around there. And guess what? Squirrels do not swim in the lake, or if they do, then the researchers did not notice it. So some of the things I can do here, right now, all of the documents are showing up with the same color, but I can actually vary the display by value here. So let's pick my favorite primary for color field. Okay, you can see that the colors change. But, and this is kind of crossing a little bit from exploration to presentation. I want to make this color actually mean something. So let's show gray squirrels in a gray color and cinnamon colored squirrels in a cinnamon color. And then black squirrels, of course, black color. There we go. And we'll fix the color of the border. Maybe to make it a little bit more readable, let's make our dot slightly smaller on the map. So here you go. A presentation like this really can serve both purposes. The one thing that I immediately noticed, there seems to be a cluster of black squirrels over here, but they're kind of distributed all over. Overall, it's not like gray squirrels hang out on one side of the park and brown squirrels hang out on the other side. They all seem to mix together. One of the other things I can do here, I can add fields to a tooltip. That way, when I hover over a specific document, I will see some information about it. So I'm adding a bunch of information about squirrel behavior here, so I can see what they're doing. So here are the 7 fields. Now, if I hover, I see that this particular squirrel of unknown age did not approach the researchers, was not chasing, climbing, eating, foraging, or doing apparently much of anything, according to this data point. But we can save this and again, on the map. And then once I save this visualization, I can go back to my dashboard and make sure that I include this together with everything else. Oops. Lost my dashboard. Oops. Sorry. Well, little tiny glitch. So moving right along, actually, let us switch instead to Canvas. I mentioned in the beginning that if you want to really present your data and make it really visually appealing, you should be using Canvas. In the interest of time, I created a Canvas workpad ahead of time. My design skills are basic, maybe is the way to describe them charitably. I had extensive help from my teenage daughter to make this. If you are better than I am at design, you can make a really amazing dashboard here. But getting some of the same visual elements, right? Tying the content to the underlying data. One of the little cute things you can do in Canvas, show kind of an amount of data by using a fill element, using this on the squirrels here. Again, primary color. Let me dig into this a little bit just to show you how to work with Canvas elements. There are the display properties of this element and the underlying data. In this particular case, I was using SQL to pull the information I need, basic Elasticsearch SQL syntax, and then tie the data I returned to the X and Y axis as well as the color. And again, I can customize my color palette here to pick what I want. Canvas workpads contain multiple pages, so you can have more than one page. On this particular example, I added a data table and also embedded a map visualization, just like the one we created. You can still see things in the tooltip on hover, so you can explore the data here. You can also use progress elements. So here on kind of one panel, I can see all of the different behaviors that squirrels in the study were exhibiting. I have learned a lot of things while preparing for this. For example, apparently, I don't know how to pronounce this word, but cox is the sound that squirrels make when they kind of chatter. So there you go, you learned something today. And the quaz is a high-pitched sound they sometimes make. One of the things you can do with Canvas is present it in a kiosk mode, or just in general use it as a slideshow. So I can set it up to cycle my slides automatically, and let me set it to be a 2-second interval. And then when I expand to full screen mode, I don't need to do anything. The slides will just rotate and go through all of the pages of the presentation. So you explored your data, and now you can really present it in a compelling and interesting way. So let me exit from that. This was a really quick run through a lot of basic functionality that we have around this. So to kind of bring it back and to summarize, there are 3 types of data visualization and kind of 3 different user intents when you're trying to look at your data. Of course, they blend into each other a lot, but there are tools in Kibana that let you explore, explain, and operationally use the data. There is a lot of different things you can do with the tools, but at a high level, quickly ingesting it, viewing events on a timeline or on a map, exploring the documents as well as the fields and the statistics of the data, creating different visualization types, combining them into a dashboard or a Canvas workpad for presentation together with annotations and custom colors and all of the things. I did not go through machine learning features today, but we also have machine learning that you can use to do anomaly detection and to learn patterns in your data. And then, of course, the custom domain-specific UIs that allow you to look at the operational data for your specific use case. And that is it. So we have a little bit of time for questions. So the question is there a max limit in the aggregations for table reports? There is not, but as your table grows in complexity and in queries, it can take a long time to render and a long time to run. So I think there is no hard limit, but in practice, getting too big may not necessarily work. Lens.ga release, we're working on it. I don't have the exact date yet, but we're definitely trying to get there soon. In each minor, you'll see more and more functionality in Lens building up to it. So we're really trying to get to a point where it's a complete and usable feature before we GA. Any other questions? So the question is, if you have data that's already aggregated, how do you display values instead of sum? So let me actually, let's see. Let's jump back to Lens. And oops, my squirrel census. let's pick primary for color. So right now, I am displaying the count of records here. There are other things I can do. I can display average, maximum, minimum. It's not going to work here because my field is text, so I have to count it. Actually, let me see if I can pick a different one. Oh, no, this one also is a text field. Let's pick a number of fields. Police precincts. Okay. So here I can pick the maximum value and just display that. If I switch to a table view, then I will display the actual values. I hope this answers your question. Can we use IP address for geomaps? I think there is a way to use IP address, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if there is anyone who can answer this question. But if not, if you ask it in the Discuss forum, then we'll definitely be able to help you figure out how to use it and where to go. The next question I see, is there a way to annotate graphs to mark or save data points you want to refer back to later because they're anomalous or for other reasons? So there are a few things you can do with annotations. Let me actually pick one of the other dashboards we have. So this is sample data dashboards. So I will pick the global flight data. Okay. So there are a couple different things you can do. One thing is you will notice here in the flights, oops, it's a little bit laggy. In the delays and cancellations visualization, there are annotations that note specific events. So this visualization is created with TSVB, and in TSVB you can add annotations like this. So that's one way to do this. The other way to do this is in Canvas. If I go back to my highlight for color, one of the things I can do is add an element. So let me, for example, add a shape here. Use an arrow. Let's pick some other color. Okay, so one of the things I can do is highlight a specific data point like this. I don't think it's quite what you were referring to, because it sounds like you wanted to be able to come back and see it in the future. But it is one way to point out a specific value. Sorry, I'm just reading the table out all values in the policy percentage instead of any aggregate like max. So you want to have a table that just shows the underlying values you have in your data. So yes, you can. Let me see if I have an example of that. Okay, so this is an example. I'm just taking the data values here from the table. It doesn't matter if they are numeric or not numeric, but yes, you can add a table to a dashboard that shows you everything that you need to see. More Canvas annotations and when to use Canvas. So the key thing about Canvas is your ability to customize and really make your data visually pop. So what I would say is, in my personal experience, if I don't know what I'm trying to say, then using Canvas is a little overwhelming because I have to think about presentation as well as the content. So for me personally, it really works well to start out in dashboard, lens, visualize, discover, and play with the data and kind of understand what is it I'm trying to say. And then once I have the story I want to tell, then I can go to the canvas and present it. So you can take a visualization that was created in another tool. So you saw me show you an example of a map, but you can embed other objects as well. So you can also augment your canvas with other visualizations you created. The other things you can do in Canvas, let me just add another page. We'll hopefully make it easier. In Canvas, the whole container is called a workpad. Workpads contain pages, pages contains elements. And elements come in many different types. Some of them are charts and tables and plots, but some of them are also images, or like the little bees on the bottom where the image repeat element, metrics, but specifically you also have text elements. We use Markdown in Canvas, so you can specify arbitrary text and also style it in any way you want. So here's our default Markdown element. I can add text settings to it and pick, a different font, a different color, a different basic size. And, really customize and play with it and, arrange my text however I need on the page. I can rotate it to make it work. So there is a lot you can do with Canvas. It's really flexible way to combine different things. Alerts out of, so the next question I see is, can we add alerts out of a chart when we're over a limit, for example, when CPU is greater than 90%? You can create alerts. Today, you cannot tie them directly to charts, but we're actually working on the capabilities to be able to take a chart, set a threshold, and generate alert right away from that. So coming soon. The next question is Canvas part of XPack, and so we need a license? Canvas is part of our basic distribution, which means you can use it for free. You don't need a license or anything like that. As some of you may know, starting in, which version was that? A while back. Sorry, don't remember exactly which version, but we have combined XPack code together with our OSS distribution under a basic license. So it's all available for free, so you no longer need additional installation. You can just grab the basic distribution and get all of the functionality together. All right, you're very welcome. Any other questions? Once, twice. All right, sounds like this is it. Well, thank you very much for joining me and taking a little tour through the world of squirrels in New York City and Kibana. Yeah, really appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.